Good morning, students. Let's begin the next story. The name of the story is In the Land of Lilliput. This is a story about a strange land. And let us find out what are the strange events taking place on this land of Lilliput. This story is an extract from Gulliver's Travels. Let's begin and discover what is all about on this land. When I woke up, I realized I was lying on the seashore. Though I felt weak, I tried to stand up. My legs did not move. I tried to touch my legs, but my hands seemed stuck to the ground. I was frightened. I raised my head to look around, and what I saw was hard to believe. Countless little men surrounded me. Some even walked on my body. They were so tiny that they had used tiny ladders to climb up on me, to tie me up with leather strips. Had I all of a sudden become a giant, or were these men dwarfs? Gathering all the courage I had left in me, I asked, "Where am I? Who are you?" A man who stood on my stomach replied, "You are in Lilliput. Since you are not a Lilliputin like us, we have to make you a prisoner." So you can see, students, in the first two paragraphs, it tells us that there is a person lying on the seashore, and that person is expressing some strange things happening with him. He tells he tried to touch his legs, but his hands seemed to stuck. So he became frightened. He even tried to stand up, but he could not. Then he tried to raise his head to look around, and to his surprise, which he could not believe, he could see there were countless little men surrounding him, and some of them were even walking on him. These people were so tiny that they used tiny ladders to climb up on his body. And so this man, this strange person, felt, or he was astonished to imagine that had I all become a giant suddenly, or were these men dwarfs? He was in a deep thought. He was pondering over this kind of experience or this kind of scene, what he was seeing. The small tiny people, and or he himself becoming a giant. So, finding the answer to his imagination or belief, he, with all courage, asked to one of them, "Where am I? And who are you?" One of them, the man who was standing on his stomach, replied, "You are in Lilliput. Since you are not a Lilliputin like us, we have to make you a prisoner." So now you can understand, students, that this man, the stranger who was lying on the seashore, had entered on the land of Lilliput. So this strange land is called as Lilliput, and same thing is the name of a story, that a person had come on this land by chance. And this is what the Lilliputians were trying to do with him. They were trying to capture him. They were trying to tie him up with leather strips in order, feeling that he is not a Lilliputin but a prisoner or an unknown, unfamiliar, strange person on our land. Let's see what happens next. Students, Lilliput means very small, tiny people like dwarfs. even tinier than dwarfs. And as these people were inhabitants or existing on this land who are very tiny, and therefore the land is named as Lilliput. Let's see what happens next. Soon I felt being pushed and then rolled onto a platform. Hey, what are you doing? I screamed nervously. You are being taken to the emperor, I was told. So, as I told you, the Lilliputians felt that the stranger is nothing but a prisoner, and therefore they were tying and taking him to the emperor. And as he was being pushed and rolled on a platform, the stranger screams nervously, "What are you doing?" And he gets the answer that he was being taken to the emperor. In the palace, I was taken to the emperor's chamber. Chamber means it is an old word used for a private room or a bedroom. A king's private room, that is called as chamber. The emperor seemed to be wise. Who are you and what are you doing in my kingdom? He asked in a booming voice. Now, what do you mean by booming? Booming means very loud, deep sound. I began to explain. My name is Lemuel Gulliver, Your Majesty. I am an English sailor, and people say that I am brave and courageous. So here you can say this strange man, whose name is Lemuel Gulliver, and he introduces himself as an English sailor, and that he also describes that people call him as a brave and courageous sailor. Further, what he speaks, I stopped to see the emperor's reaction. He was listening carefully, so I continued. A powerful storm wrecked our ship. I fought against the storm and swam for many days and nights. Luckily, I reached the seashore. I lay down as I felt weary, weak, and hungry. Here the stranger is continuing that and explaining about his trap on this land of Lilliputs. He tells that his ship was wrecked in a strong storm. Wreck means as he was a sailor sailing a ship. So his ship was completely damaged or destroyed in a powerful storm, and that he was trying to survive by fighting with the storm and swimming for many days and nights. And then, fortunately or luckily, he reaches the shore of Lilliput. I lay down as I felt weary. The man says that he was very tired, weak, and angry and hungry. So he was just lying down on the shore. Unconsciously, he was not at all to his senses. That means he was unconscious. And so he says, I think I must have fainted because the next thing I remember is finding myself tied up by your men. So this man, on reaching on the shore, was unconscious. He was lost to his sense. That means he was in a fainted manner because he could not remember anything what happened after reaching the shore or what happened before that. Only when he came to his senses, to his conscious, that time he saw these people, the Lilliputians, were tying him up. The emperor, who listened attentively, looked impressed. You deserve to be a friend and not a prisoner, he said. Although surprised, I was grateful to him and began living there as a friend of the Lilliputians. So you can see, students, as the emperor listened to the story or the fact or the situation what the stranger had faced or some kind of unexpected situation or event which took place with the sailor, the emperor was very impressed and therefore he offered him a relation of friendship and not remarked him as a prisoner. And the stranger, he in turn was very surprised as well, very grateful to the emperor, and they allowed him to live with them as a friend of Lilliputians. One day I heard strange noises. Quickly I rushed to find out what had happened. We have been attacked by our enemies, the Blefuscans, said the worried emperor. You are big and strong. If you wish, you can help us win this war, he said. So one day, this huge stranger, could hear some strange noises, and so he rushed to find out what had happened. And then he discovered by the emperor that their enemy, who were called as Blefuscans, had attacked their island, their land. And here the emperor requests or asks for help by the stranger, as he was a huge, strong, big man to win this war. Let's see whether he accepts this proposal. Let's find out, students. I saw this as the best opportunity to repay the emperor for his kindness and friendship. I waited for the night. So here you can see, students, this particular huge, big, strong man, whose name is Lemuel Gulliver, accepts the opportunity as himself was waiting for a chance to repay back the emperor for his kindness and generosity. And so, one fine night, he took some ropes with him. I crawled towards the enemy warships. Silently, I tied one end of each rope with each warship and held all the other ends of the ropes in my hand. As this man was very big, strong like a giant, he very cunningly took some ropes and tied the one ends of the ropes to the warships and held held means he hold all the other ends of the ropes in his hand. I was very excited. While the army of soldiers slept, I could smell victory. Yeah, he means that there was no doubt that he is going to win, as he was a huge giant person. And all the other soldiers, the enemy soldiers, were far asleep. So he said, I could smell victory, that it is no doubt that we are going to win this war. Or as all the other ends of the rope was in his hand, he gave one strong pull to all the ropes in my hand. The entire fleet of Blefuscan's ship was captured. The air was filled with shouts of joy from Lilliputians. I had become a national hero. So, as all the other ends of the ropes were in the hand of this strange man, he, without any wasting any time, pulled or gave a strong jerk to all the ropes, and there eventually the entire fleet of the enemy's ships were damaged or were destroyed. Looking at this sight, the Lilliputians were very happy and they shouted with joy of happiness. In this way, this Lemuel Gulliver, a strange man on the land of Lilliput, became a national hero and also proved to be a, a message or an image of being a friend in need is a friend indeed. As the emperor had helped this person, Gulliver, he in return to help the emperor at the time when he needed him. So you can see, students, it doesn't matter where and how we are. It only about the goodness, our willpower, our efforts to help someone. And this is how this person, being on a strange land, still helped them and proved himself to be a friend in need then indeed. Okay, So, even you should also help someone in turn when you are helped by someone.